All right, let's just dive right into this explainer and transport ourselves back in time to the majestic court of Emperor Akbar. I want you to picture this massive, opulent hall literally filled to the brim with the absolute greatest scholars of the Mughal era. But, on this particular day, the energy in the room was just completely flat. So, to shake things up a bit, the legendary advisor, Birbal, proposes a game. But we're not talking about some simple parlor trick here. This was a high-stakes contest where intellect and quick-wittedness were your only weapons. Today, we're going to break down the exact riddles they used that day to see what they actually teach us about human nature.
So here is the million-dollar question for you right up front. Do you actually have the wit to survive in Emperor Akbar's court? I'm challenging you to try and solve these exact same puzzles, the ones that completely stumped the greatest minds of that entire era. Let's find out if your mind is as sharp as Birbal's.
Section 1. Birbal's Ultimate Mind Games, where the stakes are high.
And moving right into Section 2, the trap of ego, intellect versus pride.
Okay, so Birbal kicks off this game with a pretty severe warning. Whoever gives a wrong answer is going to face very real, very public consequences. And just like that, these bored courtiers are suddenly on the edge of their seats because their reputations are absolutely on the line here. The room goes totally silent, and Birbal poses his first riddle. He asks, "What is the thing that makes you smaller the more it grows?" Now, I want you to take a second and actually try to guess the answer. The tension in that court was so thick you could have cut it with a knife. Even Emperor Akbar himself was completely stumped by this. He had to ask for clues about something that, can't be seen but can only be felt.
Now, the logic behind the courtiers' guesses is honestly fascinating, even though they were hilariously wrong. The brilliant minister Todar Mal, he guessed time or breath, thinking, well, as those grow, our remaining life gets smaller. Right? Makes sense? Another person guessed hope, because as hope grows, maybe our satisfaction shrinks. Somebody even threw out knowledge as a guess. And you have to admit, these were incredibly logical attempts. But they totally missed the much deeper philosophical point that Birbal was really getting at.
Well, the actual answer? It's ego, a hunkar. Birbal was laying down this profound moral reality. As a person's arrogance and pride inflate, their actual stature, their ability to listen, and their capacity to learn, it all shrinks. They start to think their understanding is the only correct one, which inevitably leads straight to their downfall. It's so true, right? Even the emperor had to just laugh and concede defeat on that one.
But hey, the game was just getting started, and the stakes, they were about to go way up. Akbar decides to join in on the rulemaking, and he says that for the next rounds of riddles, if you get it wrong, you have to stand up, publicly declare yourself a fool, or literally carry a clay pot on your head and walk in circles around the entire court. And people actually did it. They failed subsequent riddles, like trying to identify a shadow as a traveler that moves without shifting its body, or guessing a spider web as a house that exists everywhere but isn't on land, water, or in the air. Can you imagine? The court was in absolute stitches watching these top, highly respected advisors walking around with clay pots on their heads.
Which brings us to Section 3, the illusion of wealth, math versus contentment.
So, a highly distressed merchant bursts into the court with his completely baffling accounting error. He tells them he had spent 100 gold coins, earned a couple back, somehow expected to have 300, but when he counted, he only had 250 in his pouch. The math is a total mess, and everyone immediately suspects theft. So what's Birbal's solution? A bizarre psychological counting experiment. He makes the merchant count out 100 coins in front of everyone, first at normal speed, then incredibly slowly, and then backward. And the sheer pressure of this weird, erratic counting actually caused a super nervous courtier in the room to frantically check his own pockets, which inadvertently revealed that the missing 50 coins had accidentally fallen into his pouch during the first transaction. Genius, right?
Akbar was super impressed by this, but also feeling a little competitive. So he throws down his own math challenge. He orders Birbal to count out loud using numbers that never repeat, but the grand total has to equal exactly 500. And Birbal, he didn't even break a sweat. He just rapidly starts calling out this string of unique odd numbers, 13, 27, 41, 59, and so on. He's totally baffling everyone in the room until the final precise sum lands perfectly, right on the dot at 500. Honestly, it was just a masterclass in spontaneous mathematical thinking.
Akbar then pivots and demands Birbal find the richest man with no property. So after 3 days of searching, Birbal brings this old, meditating sage into the court. Now, Akbar had palaces, he had gold, but his desires, they were never-ending. The sage, on the other hand, had absolutely zero physical property. He didn't even claim ownership of his own body.
Yet he possessed immense inner contentment, peace, and knowledge. Birbal beautifully proved that a mind that is fully satisfied is so much wealthier than an emperor's entire treasury.
Section 4. Truth hidden in lies. Logic versus emotion. Next, the Emperor challenges Birbal with a seemingly impossible brain breaker. He says, "Can you find a person who lies, yet always tells the truth?" I really want you to think about that for a second. How on earth can someone be a liar and be truthful simultaneously? It sounds like a complete literal contradiction, doesn't it?
Well, Birbal's genius was finding a mischievous little farmer's boy to answer this. The boy stood right before the emperor and simply said, "If I say I always tell the truth, it's a lie. If I say I never lie, it's a lie." See what he did there? By twisting the words into a paradox, the boy exposed the absolute most honest reality of human nature, that we're all fallible. The boy's lie was layered with so much raw honesty that Akbar actually had to applaud him. It really hits home that sometimes the absolute truth is hidden right inside a cleverly constructed lie.
All right, move into Section 5, Search for True Love, the Unreachable Emotion.
Here, Akbar asks his final and honestly his most profound question of the day. He asks, what is the thing that exists everywhere, is possessed by everyone, yet is completely absent from my kingdom? Just imagine being an all-powerful emperor, a guy who thinks he owns absolutely everything the light touches, and posing this riddle. It's an incredibly deep, emotional question that forced him to really look inward at his own rule and his own heart.
So, after seeking advice from that exact same old sage, Birbal returned with the answer. True love, Sacha Prem. True love is utterly selfless and unconditional. Birbal explained to Akbar that while the emperor desired respect and obedience through sheer power, genuine love, that resides freely in people's hearts. You literally cannot mandate it by a royal decree, you definitely can't buy it with the treasury's gold, and you can't contain it within the borders of a kingdom. It was this massive, powerful realization that true love doesn't sit on a ruler's throne, it exists out there in the selflessness of everyday people.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 6, the ultimate lesson, wisdom beyond the court.
You see, Birbal's true genius wasn't just that he was super good at math or that he was great at wordplay. It was the underlying morals his answers taught the single most powerful man in the world. He taught that real wisdom has to overcome that shrinking trap of the ego. He proved beyond a doubt that inner contentment is far, far greater than just counting gold coins all day. He showed that true love vastly surpasses absolute power, and ultimately, he demonstrated that wit and a good sense of humor are completely essential tools to balance out life's most intense challenges.
And that leaves us with a final thought to really ponder today. When you look at the grand court of your own life, are you currently being ruled by the endless pursuit of wealth? Are you stuck in the shrinking trap of your own ego? Or are you guided by the liberating power of deep contentment? Think about it, because true intelligence is knowing exactly which one of those truly makes you rich.